Morning, welcome to Colin's Reading Aloud Project Part 103. 1,000 words starting now. FORELAIN, FORELAND, FORELANDS, FORELAY, FORELAYING, FORELAYS, FORELEG, FORELEGS, FORELEND, FORELENDING, FORELENS, FORELENT, FORELIE, FORELIES, FORELIFT, FORELIFTED, FORELIFTING, FORELIFTS, FORELIM, FORELIMS, FORELOCK, FORELOCKED, FORELOCKING, FORELOCKS, FORELS, FORELYING, FOREMAN, FOREMANSHIP, FOREMANSHIPS, FOREMAST, FOREMASTMAN, FOREMASTMEN, FOREMASTS, FOREMEAN, FOREMEANING, FOREMEANS, FOREMENT, FOREMEN, FOREMENTIONED, FOREMILK, FOREMILKS, FOREMOST, FOREMOTHER, FOREMOTHERS, FORENAME, FORENAMED, FORENAMES, FORENIGHT, FORENIGHTS, FORENOON, FORENOONS, FORENSIC, FORENSICALITIES, FORENSICALITY, FORENSICALLY, FORENSICS, FOREORDAIN, FOREORDAINed, FOREORDAINING, FOREORDAINMENT, FOREORDAINMENTS, FOREORDAINS, FOREORDINATION, FOREORDINATIONS, FOREPART, FOREPARTS, FOREPAST, FOREPAST, FOREPAW, FOREPAWS, FOREPAYMENT, FOREPAYMENTS, FOREPEAK, FOREPEAKS, FOREPLAN, FOREPLANNED, FOREPLANNING, FOREPLANS, FOREPLAY, FOREPLAYS, FOREPOINT, FOREPOINTED, FOREPOINTING, FOREPOINTS, FOREQUARTER, FOREQUARTERS, FORERAN, FORERANK, FORERANKS, FOREREACH, FOREREACHED, FOREREACHES, FOREREACHING, FOREREAD, FOREREADING, FOREREADINGS, FOREREADS, FORERUN, FORERUNNER, FORERUNNERS, FORERUNNING, FORERUNS, FORES, FORESAID, FORESAIL, FORESAILS, FORESAW, FORESAY, FORESAYING, FORESAYS, FORESEE, FORESEEABILITY, FORESEEABLE, FORESEeing, FORESEeingly, FORESEEN, FORESEER, FORESEERS, FORESEES, FORESHADOW, FORESHADOWED, FORESHADOWER, FORESHADOWERS, FORESHADOWING, FORESHADOWINGS, FORESHADOWS, FORESHANK, FORESHANKS, FORESHEET, FORESHEETS, FORESHOE, FORESHOED, FORESHOEing, FORESHOON, FORESHOES, FORESHIP, FORESHIPS, FORESHOCK, FORESHOCKS, FORESHORE, FORESHORES, FORESHORTEN, FORESHORTENED, FORESHORTENING, FORESHORTENINGS, FORESHORTENS, FORESHOW, FORESHOWED, FORESHOWING, FORESHOWN, FORESHOWS, FORESIDE, FORESIDES, FORESIGHT, FORESIGHTED, FORESIGHTEDLY, FORESIGHTEDNESS, FORESIGHTFUL, FORESIGHTLESS, FORESIGHTS, FORESIGNIFIED, FORESIGNIFIES, FORESIGNIFY, FORESIGNIFYING, FORESKIN, FORESKINS, FORESKIRT, FORESKIRTS, FORESLACK, FORESLACKED, FORESLACKING, FORESLACKS, FORESLOW, FORESLOWED, FORESLOWING, FORESLOWS, FORESPAKE, FORESPEAK, FORESPEAKING, FORESPEAKS, FORESPEND, FORESPENDING, FORESPENDS, FORESPENT, FORESPOKE, FORESPOKEN, FOREST, FORESTAGE, FORESTAGES, FORESTAGE, FORESTAGES, FORESTARE, FORESTARES, FORESTAL, 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 FORESTALLED, FORESTALLER, FORESTALLERS, FORESTALLING, FORESTALLINGS, FORESTALLING, FORESTALMENT, FORESTALMENTS, FORESTALLS, FORESTALMENT, FORESTALMENTS, FORESTATION, FORESTATIONS, FORESTAY, FORESTAYS, FORESTAYSAIL, FORESTAYSAILS, FORESTEAL, 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 FORESTED, FORESTER, FORESTERS, FORESTEAL, FORESTINE, FORESTING, FORESTLAND, FORESTLANDS, FORESTLESS, FORESTRIES, FORESTRY, FORESTS, FORESWEAR, FORESWEARING, FORESWEARS, FORESWORE, FORESWORN, FORETASTE, FORETASTED, FORETASTES, FORETASTING, FORETAUGHT, FORETEACH, FORETEACHES, FORETEACHING, FORETEETH, FORETELL, FORETELLER, FORETELLERS, FORETELLING, FORETELLS, FORETHINK, FORETHINKER, FORETHINKERS, FORETHINKING, FORETHINKS, FORETHOUGHT, FORETHOUGHTFUL, FORETHOUGHTS, FORETIME, FORETIMES, FORETOKEN, FORETOKENed, FORETOKENING, FORETOKENINGS, FORETOKENS, FORETOLD, FORETOOTH, FORETOP, FORETOPMAN, FORETOPMAST, FORETOPMASTS, FORETOPMEN, FORETOPS, FORETRIANGLE, FORETRIANGLES, FOREVER, FOREVERMORE, FOREVERNESS, FOREVERNESSES, FOREVERS, FORVOUCHED, FORWARD, FORWARDED, FORWARDING, FORWARDS, FOREWARN, FOREWARNED, FOREWARNER, FOREWARNERS, FOREWARNING, FOREWARNINGLY, FOREWARNINGS, FOREWARNS, FOREWAY, FOREWAYED, FOREWAYING, FOREWAYS, FOREWENT, FOREWIND, FOREWINDS, FOREWING, FOREWINGS, FOREWOMAN, FOREWOMEN, FORWARD, FORWARDS, FOREWARN, FOREX, FOREXes, FOREYARD, FOREYARDS, FOREFARE, FOREFARED, FOREFARING, FOREFARE, FOREFARES, FORFAITER, FORFAITERS, FORFAITING, FORFAITINGS, FORFAULT, FORFAULTS, FORFEIT, FORFEITABLE, FORFEITED, FORFEITER, FORFEITERS, FORFEITING, forfeits, forfeiture, forfeitures, forfend, forfended, forfending, forfends, forfuken, forfex, forfexes, forficate, forficulate, forfocken, forfauken, forfowen, forforten, forgat, forgather, forgathered, forgathering, forgathers, forgave, forge, forgeabilities, forgeability, forgeable, forged, forgeman, forgemen, forger, forgeries, forgers, forgery, forges, forget, forgetful, forgetfully, forgetfulness, forgetfulnesses, forgetive, forgets, forgettable, forgetter, forgetteries, forgetters, forgettery, forgetting, forgettingly, forgettings, forging, forgings, forgivable, forgivably, forgive, forgiven, forgivenness, forgiveness, forgivenesses, forgiver, forgivers, forgives, forgiving, forgivingly, forgivingness, forgivingnesses, forgo, forgoer, forgoers, forgoes, forgoing, forgone, forgot, forgotten, forgottenness, forgottennesses, forhail, forhailed, forhails, forhailing, forhent, forhenting, forhence, forwho, forwhoed, forwhoey, forwhoeyed, forwhoeying, forwhoeys, forwhoing, forwhoos, forhow, forhowed, forhowing, forhows, forinsec, forinsecle, forint, forints, forifamiliate, forifamiliated, forifamiliates, forjasket, forjesket, forjudge, forjudged, forjudges, forjudging, forjudgment, forjudgments, fork, forkball, forkballs, forked, forkedly, forkedness, forkednesses, forker, forkers, forkful, forkfuls, forkhead, forkheads, forkier, forkiest, forkiness, forkinesses, forking, forkless, forklift, forklifted, forklifting, forklifts, fork-like, forks, forksful, forktail, forktails, forky, forlana, forlanas, forlend, forlending, forlens, forlent, forlease, forleases, forleasing, forlaw, forlorn, forlorner, forlornest, forlornly, forlornness, forlornnesses, forlorns, form, formabilities, formability, formable, formably, formal, formaldehyde, formaldehydes, formalin, formaline, formalines, formalins, formalizable, formalization, formalizations, formalize, formalized, formalizer, formalizers, formalizes, formalizing, formalism, formalisms, formalist, formalistic, formalistically, formalists, formally, formaliter, formalities, formality, formalizable, formalization, formalizations, formalize, formalized, formalizer, formalizers, formalizes, formalizing, formally, formalness, formalnesses, formals, formamide, formamides, formant, formants, format, formate, formated, formates, formating, formation, formational, formations, formative, formatively, formativeness, formativenesses, formatives, formats, formatted, formatter, formatters, formatting, formattings, form, formed, formé, formays, formee, formees, former, formally, formers, forms, form-fitting, formful, formiate, formiates, formic, formica, formicant, formicaria, formicaries, formicarium, formicary, formicas, formicate, formicated, formicates, formicating, formication, formications, formidabilities, formidability, formidable, formidableness, formidably, forming, formings, formless, formlessly, formlessness, formlessnesses, formal, formals, forms, formula, formulae, formulaic, formulaically, formular, formularies, formularization, formularize, formularized, formularizer, formularizers, formularizes, formularizing, formularistic, formularization, formularize, formularized, formularizer, formularizers, formularizes, formularizing, formulars, formulary, formulas, formulate, formulated, formulates, formulating, formulation, formulations, formulator, formulators, formulize, formulized, formulizes, formulizing, formulism, formulisms, formulist, formulistic, formulists, formulize, formulized, formulizes, formulizing, formwork, formworks, formil, formils, fornenced, fornent, fornicle, fornicate, fornicated, fornicates, fornicating, fornication, fornications, fornicator, fornicators, fornicatress, fornicatresses, fornices, fornix, forpet, forpets, forpine, forpined, forpines, forpining, forpit, forpits, forad, forradder, forads, forada, foray, forayed, foraying, forays, foreign, forit, foresaid, forsake, forsaken, forsakenly, forsakenness, forsakennesses, forsaker, forsakers, forsakes, forsaking, forsakings, forsay, forsaying, forsays, forslack, forslacked, forslacking, forslacks, forslow, forslowed, forslowing, forslows, forslow, forslowed, forslowing, forslows, forsook, forsooth, forspeak, forspeaking, forspeaks, forspend, forspending, forspends, forspent, forspoke, forspoken, forsterite, forsterites, forswat, forswear, forswearer, forswearers, forswearing, forswears, forswink, forswinked, forswinking, forswinks, forswank, forswore, forsworn, forswornness, forswornnesses, forswunk, forsythia, forsythias, fort, fortalice, fortalices, forte, forted, forte pianist, forte pianists, forte piano, forte pianos, fortes, forth, forthcame, forthcome, forthcomes, forthcoming, forthcomingness, forthgoing, forthgoings, forethink, forethinking, forethinks, forethought, forthright, forthrightly, forthrightness, forthrights, forthwith, forthy, forties, fortieth, fortieths, fortifiable, fortification, fortifications, fortified, fortifier, fortifiers, fortifies, fortify, fortifying, fortifyingly, fortilage, fortilages, forting, forties, fortissimi, fortissimo, fortissimos, fortissimo, fortitude, fortitudes, fortitudinous, fortlet, fortlets, fortnight, fortnightlies, fortnightly, fortnights, fortress, fortressed, fortresses, fortressing, fortress-like, forts, fortuities, fortuitism, fortuitisms, fortuitist, fortuitist, fortuitous, fortuitously, fortuitousness, fortuity, fortunate, fortunately, fortunateness, fortunatenesses, fortunates, fortune, fortuned, fortuneless, fortunes, fortuning, fortunize, fortunized, fortunizes, fortunizing, fortunize, fortunized, fortunizes, fortunizing, forty, fortyish, forum, forums, forwander, forwandered, forwandering, forwonders, forward, forwarded, forwarder, forwarders, forwardist, forwarding, forwardings, forwardly, forwardness, forwardnesses, forwards, forewarn, forewarned, forewarning, forewarns, forewaste, forewasted, forewastes, forewasting, forewearied, forewearies, foreweary, forewearying, forewent, forewhy, forewarn, forza, forzandi, forzando, forzandos, forzati, forzato, forzatos, fors, foscarnet, foscarnets, foss, fossa, fossi, fossers, fossate, foss, fost, fosses, fosset, fossets, fossick, fossicked, fossicker, fossickers, fossicking, fossickings, fossics, fossil, fossiliferous, fossilizable, fossilization, fossilizations, fossilize, fossilized, fossilizes, fossilizing, fossilizable, fossilization, fossilizations, fossilize, fossilized, fossilizes, fossilizing, fossils, fossor, fossorial, fossors, fossula, fossuli, fossilate, foster, fosterage, fosterages, fostered, fosterer, fosterers, fostering, fosterings, fosterling, fosterlings, fosters, fosterus, fostresses, fother, fothered, fothergiller, fothergillers, fothering, fothers, fuat, fuats, food, foodry, foodries, foudroyant, foods, fuer, fuest, fuet, fuets, fuet, fuets, fugade, fugades, fugas, fugasses, fort, fortin, fortier, fortiest, forty, foul, foulard, foulards, foul brood, foul broods, foulder, fouldered, foundering, founders, foul, foul, fouled, fowler, fowls, foulest, fowly, fowlies, fouling, foulings, foully, foulmart, foulmarts, foul-mouthed, foulness, foulnesses, fouls, fumart, fumarts, found, foundation, foundational, foundationally, foundationary, foundationer, foundationers, foundationless, foundations, founded, founder, foundered, foundering, founderous, founders, founding, foundings, foundling, foundlings, foundress, foundresses, foundries, foundry, founds, fount, fountain, fountained, fountainhead, fountainheads, fountaining, fountainless, fountains, fountful, founts, four-ball, four balls, four-chi, four cheese, fourchette, fourchettes, fourdrinias, four-eyed, fourfold, fourfoldnesses, foregone, foregons, fourpence, fourpences, four pennies, four penny, foreplay, four plays, fourplex, fourplexes, fouragiers, fours, fourscore, forces, foursome, foursomes, foursquare, foursquarely, foursquareness, fourteener, fourteeners, fourteenth, fourteenthly, fourteenths, fourthly, fourths, fousas, faustiest, fausty, fouter, foutered, foutering, fouters, fouths, futras, futred, foutring, fovea, foveae, foveal, foveas, foveate, foveated, foveiform, foviola, foveoli, foviolar, foviolas, foveolate, foveolated, foveol, foviols, foviolets, fouled, fowler, fowlers, fowling, foulings, foulpox, foulpoxes, fowls, fouths, foxberries, foxberry, foxed, foxes, foxfires, foxfish, foxfishes, foxgloves, foxhole, foxholes, foxhound, foxhounds, foxhunt, foxhunted, foxhunter, foxhunters, foxhunting, foxhuntings, foxhunts, foxy, foxier, foxies, foxiest, foxily, foxiness, foxinesses, foxing, foxings, foxlike, foxshark, foxsharks, foxship, foxships, foxskin, foxskins, foxtail, foxtails, foxtrot, foxtrots, foxtrotted, foxtrotting, foxy, foyboat, foyboats, foyer, foyers, foiled, foils, foiling, foined, foins, foining, foys, fosier, fosiest, fosinesses, FOZY. That's 1,000 for today, so we'll stop there and I'll see you tomorrow.